Hi. Welcome to Card Game Theology. I've taken some tips from Grim Grizz and made some cards. And we're gonna see how many we get through in 3 minutes and 33 seconds. I think card games are spiritual because they are just as our life, drawing one card off the top each day. We decide what's in the deck, but we don't know when it's gonna appear. There's also an aspect where the process in which a standard trading card game format is rotating and changing, and you must always update you must reform your religion. And you must realize what's relevant, and to decide what's in your deck, whether the format be drafting or even in a deck building game. You are deciding the relevant information. You're realizing what's relevant based on this large embedded structure of what if a card fits in my deck, if this deck is good in this format, if this game is worth playing even. That's where it gets strange, because there's multiple games, and I do think that games are very powerful. Let's get to the cards. Who is Jessmon? Ooh. Okay, well, I've done some research. The first thing that I found was Jessmon in relation to Jesus. There's debates about this. Reddit debates for a long time. Long debates. It says, bullshit, it is not. What is that in response to? It's not Savior Hackmon. That was changed for the dub. The Japanese name is Saber Hackmon. And again, the Jess in his name stands for Justice Edge Swordsman, and he isn't a leader among the Royal Knights in any way. He is just the 13th Digimon worthy of being the final member of the group. 13th out of, there was 12. See, I'm not going to claim anything, but who is Jessmon? I mean, that's a good question. And it also brings up the well, there are some controversies, but that's a card in there, so we're gonna move on. Who is Jessmon? I don't have much to say except for there's debates about this. We don't know. It's almost like there's as much debate about this as there is about the real divinity of Okay, next card. Real chaotic. So there's a game called Chaotic. I think that we would benefit from making chaotic real. You take pictures of the cards that you want in the game. This is a cartoon, but we could make this real. You take pictures of the items you want to use in the card game. Now, what this would encourage is people to go and find interesting items and also interesting people, because you could use these people, powerful people, you get a photo with them. It's money. Now, this is maybe not feasible, but the idea is that we want to be able to engage with the things, we want to play with the things that we see in this world. And the fact that I have to come up with this real chaotic for us to actually have a way in to the participation with this world. Obviously it seems strange, but I think everyone kind of understands where I'm coming from when I pitch it. If I say this would absolutely, like Pokemon Go, for example, would have an impact, and it might actually make positive connections. Real chaotic. Okay. TCG heresy. Yes, so that's just the controversies that we've seen. Theological controversies. Started with Magic the Gathering. Well, it started probably before that, but again, we'll get to that probably in this last card. The controversy started with this card called Jihad. This is an early religious controversy in a card game, and they continued to happen. There are Yu-Gi-Oh ones, I believe. There's a few in early Magic, and one interesting one is in Japan, they believed that their Digimon called Sistermon Noir was just too heretical for the American audience, so they changed it. There's a nun with guns on the Japanese art, but they thought, oh, that's offensive to the Americans, right? So we'll change it, and that's a whole complicated thing that comes out of that. So it's a lot of effort to do that. And so why is it that they did that? Well, it's because the Japanese revere their traditions more than us, in a way. They just do it slightly more, and so they think that we would also revere our traditions, and so we wouldn't want to see nuns with guns, because thou shalt not kill. And I thought that was interesting. Just these weird perceptions. The meeting of the East and the West is always so ironic and tragic. Games turn into gods. Okay, so Tarot started as a game. It was just a game. They were funny characters for a game. It was fun. It was just fun games. So you make the game because you're not because you're bored, but You make the game because games come out of you. I mean, I'm a game designer. I design board games. It can't stop them from being designed. It's almost like it's a contagion. So the games happen naturally. But then what's odd is their divination, which is a pun maybe, because then they become the tools for divination. Now this process, I'm not really sure how it happens, and I, but it does. And so there's a sort of maybe a power, maybe as this game gets played enough, it kind of, maybe people's attention and maybe even just the shuffling of the cards, I don't know how it works. I'm realizing that this world is very strange, and so it's possible that it's the shuffling of the cards, and they're putting this energy into it, and it sort of gets their attention, kind of like Jonathan Peugeot would say, you know, they become idols. You know, that you elevate it to the highest. Did I how many how is you elevate it to the highest, it becomes your god. This is kind of what happens, and let's just be honest, this has happened in the modern day. What's the modern take of this? Modern day fractal. This happens continually, and so Magic the Gathering, I had to give it up. It became a sort of idol, and it actually became a tool for divination, but in a strange way. The markets are like, you're using cards. You're like looking at the card price. You're looking at the card power levels, and you're going, this card will be worth this much. You're predicting things. It's a sort of divination. You buy products because you think they're going to be successful. I mean, let's be honest. Alpha Investments, Rudy, I don't know how you're doing, but I hope you're okay. So, games become God. Games turn into gods. This is just what happens, guys. Alright, card game theology. This has been Card Game Theology. I don't want to know your opinions at all. This is a very one-sided thing. But maybe if you want to say anything at all, just like roast me.